I made the perfect game in 96 hours. How's that for an ego? 96 hours, also known as 4 days, was the time spent for GMTK 2024, which is usually only a weekend. And in this 4-day stress venture, I made the perfect game, as one does. So, starting day, waiting for the team to be announced. My theory for making a game that fits the Jam team is, it's kinda like this. It crosses the team firstly only in style, like aesthetics or other passive elements, and then it has to cross the team again, this time in a more mechanical sense. For example, you may be a small rat in a kitchen, but you also have to control the big human. Without both, it's just a game with a style or a game with a certain mechanic. My game didn't end up fitting either though, immediately disqualifying this theory, so yeah. When the team was announced, it was 8 PM, the perfect time for the perfect game, I thought. Now all I had to do was find an idea. That's when a time portal appeared out of nowhere and pulled me to... Okay, not really. I just spent it being a bit tired and frantically thinking of game ideas. Luckily I found an idea at the end of day 1, shortly before leaving the time portal. I was going to make a game where you traveled up, possibly a tower or building of some kind. Now, there's this game I loved as a kid called Pac-Man World 3, which is not really known by many people and liked by even less people. Jokes on them though, they don't know what I have. Anyway, in the game there are 2 levels that I really liked. We'll only talk about the second one for now due to time. I still need to play like 7,000 games and rank them. The level is called the Crackstone Bridge, where you cross the Crackstone Bridge. Shocking. That's only a single part of the level though. At the end of it, you get to this mountain. The mountain is quite tall though when you actually do climb it. It's a lot of 2005 PlayStation 2 platforming goodness and then you finally get to the top. But here's the thing, the mountain you just climbed, it's still there. You can look down and see it and even jump down. Here you can see Pac-Man flying through some of it. You can see all of it. All that little detail? Yeah, you were just there. I love this feeling, and this game has that quite a lot, where you can look down and instead of seeing the void, you see a previous part of the level. It shows you the scale of your progress. That was my cue to make a game that captured this feeling. So it's settled, I'm making a game where you climb some sort of a tower. I decided to make it a straight building because this would allow me to design levels consistently and make some cool effects with it. Here's the basics. The current floor will be the active level, the colorful one where you would play on. But you must also see the previous floors. This is crucial and basically the main idea of the game. Yes, you're done with those past levels, but still, you've been there, and the player has to know that. You have to know that, because you're climbing up. Like actually up, this is not your grandma's platformer. In day 2 I coded in the floor mechanics and kept it quite simple. There is a level grid which is 12 by 12 and each data represents a tile. 0 is empty, 1 is the floor and so on. I also made the effect for the previous floors. This basically means that when you move up a floor, you take a screenshot of the past level in grayscale and add it to a list of floors. It's actually a bit more complicated, but that's all you really need to know. We drew the current floor like a normal level, but the bottom ones are drawn with a for loop connected to this list. I also needed a way of moving the camera up and down. This was thankfully much easier than it seemed. Thank you, Code God. My pleasure. Good night, Code God. Good night. Day 3, the best of days. I better get coding, eh? In day 3 I added the enemies and some other mechanics like jumping, dashing and stomping. Made some nice sprites for them too. That's also when I added the best part of the game. Now I don't know what happened, but CodeGod must have slipped something in my drink because I made a level editor, and it took only like 30 minutes. The crazy part is it's one of the best level editors I've ever made. I mean I made like 2, but still. So I used that to make a bunch of levels, and then decided to update the level system. Kids, finalize your systems before using them. Remember how I said it was a 12 by 12 grid? Well, I added a second grid for detail, like a second layer of sort, for things like enemies and items. This was a blessing in disguise actually, because it made it so much easier to add elements later on. Day 3 ended when... Actually, it never ended. I stood up until like 7 AM coding, and once I realized I was writing floor as floor and speed as sped in the code, I went to sleep. For 3 hours. Wake up! Wake up! Grab brush and put a little makeup! Now, this was the first power nap I ever took, and I woke up energized. Somehow. Okay, 10 hours till the end. For the last day I had to finish the levels, add music and sound effects, code the ending, make the shortcuts, fix the bugs, add controls to the side. It all happened fairly quickly actually. The scary part was the last 2 hours where I was trying to find good sound effects, edit them in Audacity and put them in the game. Do you know how hard it is to find an appropriate sound effect for limp body falling to ground? It's either too dark or just not satisfying, so I ended up combining a bunch of sounds which, quite coincidentally, sounded really good. And then it was time to upload. I did it! Having not eaten for about 20 hours, I was done. My eyes were red, burning, and afterwards I had the best burger of my life. Now I wasn't planning on going hard in the jam, but halfway through the game felt much better than I expected it to be, so I got really pumped. After uploading it though, and after the burger, some friends played it and discovered a bunch of bugs and non-ideal elements. Great. It's mostly not game breaking, though I do think some of it could actually sour the experience for whoever plays it. Kinda sucks, but I feel like I did my best, which is cool. And the parts that I was actually happy with received some really positive reactions, so it's not that bad. The fact is, I'm not sure if this was the perfect game for the jam. It seems a little loose on fitting the theme, and some part of it could leave the player unsatisfied. But you know what? I think the game is really good, and making it was really fun. And I feel like this was one of the most fun to play games I ever made. So in a way, this imperfect game was the perfect game. Okay, cut to grab. Yeah, that sentiment is true as well, but it's not the point of the video. Because there is no point to this video. I just wanted to talk about a game I'm genuinely proud of. I think with a lot more content and maybe multiple buildings, this could be something great. Someday, not today, but someday.